can't raise your babies and run a business and keep, a Pinterest worthy home all by yourself.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma.
Hey Peyton, I follow you on Instagram and social media. I love your branding. I love your tips. Like really, I think you give such insightful information. So I thought you would be the perfect guest to bring on today. And I hope the other mamas out there will find these insights useful as well. So just to start out, tell me about how you got started, a little bit about your background.
Very similar to your story. I left my corporate job. I was in management and I left for maternity leave and never came back. So my maternity leave was up as soon as COVID hit the United States. As soon as all of that was going on, the fear on the news and just like being nervous. And on top of that, I was a new mom. So I was like, I just cannot send my baby to daycare at 3 months old, not knowing what this virus is. At that point, we were all pretty scared about it because we
Wow.
had no idea how serious it was or was not. So long story short, called my job and just told them, sorry, I can't come back. Like, I just can't do that. They were very understanding, thankfully. And so we immediately went down to a one income household. And eventually I got a little bored because I was that person that I thought I was going to be itching, ready to go back to work. I was going to be like ready for maternity leave to be over so I could get back to work, get back to doing my thing. And it was the complete opposite. But I still had this sense of like ambition of like, there's something else inside here that, wants to make its way out. There's some kind of message and there's something that I want to do. So I just started reflecting on my skills, things that I knew how to do. And one of my first jobs was actually at an e-commerce boutique. They weren't even an in-store boutique. They were e-commerce boutique. And so I did stuff behind the scenes like packing and hanging clothes and things like that. And I was like, you know what? I watched this business grow rapidly over a summer and I think I can do it. I know how to do it. So my first business was an e-commerce like Facebook boutique, and that lasted for about 3 or 4 months. And I hated it once I started actually like getting orders in, packing, sending, ordering, more inventory. I really just hated it. I was like, this is not me at all. So I actually sold that business, made a little profit off of it, which was nice, and realized that what I did enjoy throughout that process was the creative aspect. So the marketing, the branding, the websites, the tech side of things, and systems. So I started doing that freelancing, and the rest is history. I just kept learning and growing and investing in myself and getting deeper and deeper into the brand strategy side of things. I really love the strategy side of messaging and branding and marketing. So long story short, that's how I ended up where I am today. I just kind of evolved and grew and refined my skill sets and kept going until I felt like I'm, finally at a place where my business feels aligned to me and it feels, you know, good, happy.
Wow. I resonate with so much of that, especially the part where you said you thought like, you would be itching to get back to work and then same here. I remember when my sister had her kids and she was with them with each kid until they were like 3. And I thought I was going to be the one who would like go back to work. And then I had my baby and at 3 months I'm like, I'm not ready to go back to work. I just felt like I was finally just getting a grasp of what it is to have a little creature at home.
Yep.
I had that ambition of like I want to do something, but I knew it wasn't in like the traditional 9 to 5 setting. Wow. And I like how you said like you went out there. You said, "Okay, I'm going to start something." And then you fine-tuned it. You learned from that business. So I think that's a good message for people out there. You might not know like first off what you want to do, but
Yep.
just getting started and doing something and then you found your shtick, like you knew what you liked, more the creative part. And I like that word that you use. You found like alignment.
Mhm. Yeah, you really
Yeah.
do just have to kind of evolve and go. And in the beginning, I think online business is so amazing and it gives so many people so many opportunities, but I also feel like there's a drawback. When you step into online business, you're immediately just bombarded with all of this information about what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. And I think starting my first business, even though I was alone and didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have a community, I didn't have other entrepreneurs to lean on, even though it was scary, I'm glad it happened that way for me because all of those rules, like all of the should I do this? Should it be this way? What strategy should I choose? I didn't really have any of that the first time around. And because of that, it was one of my fastest growing businesses. So the boutique grew really quickly, whereas the graphic design and the freelancing, like once I stepped into the online space, I was like, whoa, like there's a lot here. There's people that are doing it better than me. And so that brought up a lot of mind drama. And my advice for women starting businesses is just like you said, just go. Like, just start taking action, find what you love, find a skill that you want to refine instead of consistently worrying about trying to get that success or get that 10K month or get what everybody else has the successful business, and just focus on growth.
I love that. Don't get distracted by everybody's else vision of what a
Mm-hmm.
business should look like and just go for it.
Yeah.
And tell us, like, what is a brand strategist? What's the difference between, like, you hear so many things like business coaches and brand strategists and marketing coaches. So how do you define what you do? What makes it different?
So
What differentiates it?
So, what is different about the branding versus the strategizing versus the coaching is essentially what you're doing and how you're doing it. So, anyone in the business space, like marketers, business coaches, lead gen strategists, they can essentially all help you in some way, shape, or form. And I think your biggest, like, tool that you have is your discernment about where you're at right now and what you actually need at that stage in your business. So the difference between what I do and overall business coaching is it's not a comprehensive experience. So it's not something where I'm going to take you from very first starting your business through the mindset stuff, through the financial stuff, through the marketing stuff. It's something where I'm coming in with my zone of genius, which is in brand strategy and messaging. And we're taking what you already have and we're building on it. So, brand strategy is essentially the strategy behind your entire business, what you do and how you do it. So, that's who you're speaking to, and then all about that person, their problems, the solution that they want, the transformation they desire, how you do that differently. So it's a little bit different than business coaching because it's just that one area of expertise. And this is no slight to business coaches because I do consider myself somewhat of a business coach because I do have knowledge in other areas. But I think it's so important to hone in on your area of genius, like your zone of genius, that thing that you do really well. Find that person that's in that stage that needs what you have and just go all in and specialize. Because I think that at times in our business, we feel like we don't know enough. And so when we get into programs that are like comprehensive, where it's just a lot of information, it tends to actually do the opposite in my experience of what we want it to do. Whereas we want to take all of this information and know how to grow a business from A to Z, but it's not like that. Like you have to have that experience. I'm sorry, you're going to hear my kids in the background. It's
I
just the way
get
it is.
it.
We're
You
all
might
moms.
hear mine too. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
we're all moms here.
we all understand. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So sometimes the comprehensive plans and the knowledge and the information can do more harm than good because instead of focusing on one area of your business and getting really good at that and mastering it, like instead of understanding your brand strategy and your foundation and your message, getting really good at that, people tend to go wide and try to have a lot of different things that they're doing, and that can be more detrimental than not. So that's kind of why I went from business coaching as a whole to then kind of honing in on the person that needs this one zone of genius, if that
Yeah, and
makes
I
sense.
like that. Like you identified your lane because sometimes when I hear business coach, it sounds so broad. And I like these new like people that are saying, look, I specialize in this, in marketing and branding. And say I'm a business owner, at what stage would you recommend that we bring in a business strategist? Like from the beginning or once I achieve this milestone? When do you come into the picture?
I say from the beginning, but unfortunately, that's not where most of my clients meet me. Most of my clients meet me at that point in time where they have created their business or either stumbled into an accidental business and they are getting referrals, they're building relationships, they have word of mouth around their business, but they're not attracting the quality of people that they want to work with, or either they're not attracting a consistent amount of new clients. So, generally the people that I work with, they have that mind drama worked out of like what they actually want to do. So I need to know that. Like before we go into the brand strategy, I really need to know like what direction do you want to go in your business? And sometimes that's a process we have to go through together. Sometimes that's something I have to take my clients through where we work on the mindset blocks that are keeping them from actually doing what they want versus what they feel like they should do. So it's a very nuanced topic, but
Yeah.
ASAP, ASAP, because the very first thing, like the foundational piece of your brand's message and your strategy, is your ideal client. It's who you want to work with and who you want to serve and why. And so everything else flows from this point of ideal client. Like when you choose that person, that is going to change your entire message. It's going to change the way your brand looks, feels, the things that you offer, the places that you show up. So as soon as you have an idea of what direction you want to go in and you're ready to get serious about like, okay, I'm going to make a run and follow this plan and see where it takes me, that's like the sweet spot for brand strategy.
I think maybe, I don't know, maybe to some people it's obvious, but I know for me, and I'm sure a lot of moms out there, what you said is so important. Realizing who are you talking to? Who is your audience? Because I'm a nutritionist, a dietitian, and I want everybody to be healthy. I didn't know I had to choose like one person. And then I heard someone say if when you try to speak to everyone, no one hears you or you speak to no one. And I've been realizing that, like, wow, that's true. You need to like define who you're speaking to, and because you reach everyone differently. Yeah, that's
Absolutely. And there's a reframe that I often give my clients for this because they say the same thing. They're like, I want to help everyone. I want everyone to be healthy. I want everyone to be wealthy. I want everyone to be in shape or feeling good or whatever solution that you offer. But it's not really that we have to choose as much as doing a service to our audience, because when we do speak to that one person who we really feel like we can help, then that gives them the best chance at transformation. So instead of like choosing between helping this person or this person, you're thinking, I'm going to choose the person who I know has the best chance at transformation within my offer or with me or from my program, my processes. So that kind of gives them a little shift sometimes because it's like we don't ever have to turn anyone away,
mm,
but we do want the majority of our clients that we attract to be people that are genuinely ready to utilize what we have.
I see. Okay, I like that clarification. And what are some common misconceptions that people have about brand strategy? Like, I feel like when people hear brand strategy, or at least when I was first introduced to it, I just thought like, okay, this is about co your color palette and things like that.
The big one, like that's the big misconception right there. So oftentimes I refer to myself as a brand coach or as a messaging strategist or like your brand message because a lot of people do have that misconception about the fact that brand strategy is like your website and your colors and your logos, when really that's just kind of the cherry on top. It's just like the added effect because the real brand strategy comes in when you are basically mapping out who you're talking to and how you're going to help them.
Well, we talked a bit about, business. Now let's go a bit into like more personal momhood things. What have been your like biggest challenging challenges being a mom and building a business? And how have you been able to navigate that? Do you have any tips for us?
That was
Or
perfect
are you
timing.
still in
As
it?
as one of them is like jiggling the door trying to get in. Um, that has been probably one of the hardest things for me in business. Like as a mother, like so many coaches and online gurus and successful people will talk about the hurdles as far as like the mindset and the strategy and like just owning a business. But so many of my hurdles have been really just trying to figure out how to make business work within the context of my life. Like still being able to be home with my babies and really just being able to manage my emotions has been huge for me because
That part,
you
right?
know, when you're a mom, you pretty much live in fight or flight. Like
Oh,
especially if you have more
totally.
than one because you are like changing a diaper and while you're changing a diaper, the other one is like getting in the stove or something and then like you're trying to get that one from the stove and then like the other one's screaming or terrorizing the dog. So you quickly have to like multitask and shift your priorities. And so it's been very hard for me as a mom, just being honest, to run my business in a way that it's the lesser priority. Because, like, to me, being ambitious and wanting, obviously, to be able to make this work, it's naturally very high on the priority list. Like, I wake up, I'm ready to get to my to do list, I want to write my content, but I have to stop because I have to make cereal or change a diaper or put somebody on the potty or, whatever. And understanding that like it doesn't always have to be first on the priority list for you to be successful. Like you can still do it within the pockets of your day and spend, I don't want to say minimal time, but spend less time than you would expect on it and still being successful. So that was a huge block for me both mentally and physically, just finding a routine and pockets of my day that I can get things done, but also curbing that belief that like I have to do more, 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 more. Like this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. I have to do more to be successful. So really curbing that belief and being like, no, I am doing enough. Like making connections, writing my content and selling, like that is enough. And so
Wow,
that's
I
my
love that.
piece of advice for like anyone listening is like if you are selling and you are serving your clients and then you are marketing, if you can find the time to market, like that's enough. Like that's enough for you to be successful. You don't have to have all the embellishments or the team or the funnel or the tech or whatever. You can be successful
Yeah,
with your
wow, I'm sure a lot of moms need to hear that. I needed to hear that message because I'm like you. I'm like you said, my son is the priority and my business is second, and it's of course I have all these things I'm like itching, oh, I need to do this, I need to like reply to this person, but he's first and whatever I can get in during his nap or when I give him some like coloring time or screen time or whatever, like
screen
that I
time.
make it work
Equals
or after hours when he's asleep. But that's what moms do. And that's really something that I'm happy that we talk about on this podcast because I feel like I hear a lot of, before I started a business, I was hearing it a lot from like a male perspective and like male gurus. And then I realized how much like you can't compare being like a father, even if you're a father, like not just a man, but even a father, because still, where they're not moms, it's not the same most of the time. So
Yeah. I
it's
mean, our
totally
bodies are
different.
literally like wired different. Like we can't help but respond. And another thing that was big for me with finding the time to do it all is being willing to let other things go. Like being willing to let the dishes pile up, being willing to let the laundry sit in a basket and not feeling guilty about it. Right. Because I think we carry so much of that that, like, if we're a stay at home mom, that we must be a homemaker as well.
Right.
And you can't raise your babies and run a business and keep, a Pinterest worthy home like all by yourself. Not saying it's not
Yes.
possible, but not
What?
all by yourself. Like you cannot do that alone. And so a lot of moms that I talk to, they're like, But then I have to do this and then I have to do this. And I'm like, just let it go. Like, what's a priority to you? Kids, business. Like, balance those priorities and the other stuff will be there. Like it's not
Right.
urgent. It's not urgent.
Yeah, that's something that I have to do too. Like I'll leave them for the end of the day, or my husband when he comes in, he'll do them. Like it's not, I can't do everything. We're trying to build something, and down the road we'll be happy that we did it instead of like
Yeah.
wasting time, making sure
After
you
we
have a
build a
pantry
successful
worthy house.
business, yeah, after we build a successful business, we'll just get somebody to come clean it for us, right? Like we'll just outsource
That
it.
part, right? Excellent. Well, I love that. Like I always think about how our children like look at us when we're building this business. Is that something that you think about, like being a role model? How many children do you have? I forgot to
I have
ask.
two.
Two.
I have
Wow.
two. I have a 4-year old and a 2-year old. They're both girls.
Oh, girl, mom, I can imagine doing with like it's hard with one, so with two, double.
It's
So,
hard, but you get the hang of it, just like anything else.
right. And so I'm sure like they look up to you and they see that you're a role model to them, especially girls in this world, that you can be a mom and you can start a business and you can do it all.
Yeah, I definitely think about that often. And, I think they're still too little to really grasp that subject, but I do see them like emulating me a little bit. Like they'll like get on their phone or like my youngest, she was walking around with her toy phone talking into it like she was talking into Voxer. The other day it was really cute. One of them sat their little toy phone up on the mantle and was like making a reel in front of it. And like they get their little laptop and work on their laptop.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
so
really
cute.
adorable. And I have to always remind myself too that like yes, while this time is precious, like everyone always beats into your head as a mom, like be there while they're babies, be there while they're babies. You'll only have that once. But I think as much as this stage is important, I think the later stages are even more important. Like once they start to understand really what you're doing, and once they start getting involved in sports and school and like peer pressure and making decisions in their life, becomes emotional, they hit puberty. I honestly think they need you more. Like they need you just as much then as they do when you're little. So they're little. So my goal is to just build it as much as I can right now so that by the time they are older, I'll be experiencing the kind of freedom that allows me to just like be with them through that phase of life. Because I know there's so many times when I was younger where I was like, I just wish my mom and dad didn't have to work so much.
Yeah. Oh my
So,
gosh, I resonate with that so much. Like that's my go-to. Like I want to already be established by the time he is old enough to like really meet me and be there and really I like
have your
yeah, I
first little
really
girlfriend.
right, yeah. And hopefully we have more to but yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So we talked about work-life balance and self-care. This one is a big one for moms.
Mm.
How do you make time for yourself, or are you able to make time for yourself with business and children? And what does self-care look like to you?
Honestly, I do not make time for self care in the traditional sense. And I don't subscribe to hustle culture by any means, but I will say that, like, oftentimes when I have free time, I find myself not wanting to step away from my business. I find myself so excited and like jazzed up about it that I just want to work. So not not endorsing that by any means. Like you definitely need to take time for yourself, but for me it's very little things. Like it's my networking group that I go to once a month. It's like calls like this where I just like allow myself to have quiet and like be away from them and conversate with other women in business. And for me it often looks like at the end of the day meditating and listening to hypnotherapy or a sermon or something like that, just to kind of reset my mind and just kind of pour back into myself mentally. I think that is probably my biggest self care, something that I make time for every single day is like I have to have that mental reset where I just like assess things and make sure I'm not spiraling. So I think you just really have to find what works for you.
Wow, that's so funny because so far all the women that I spoke to, all mothers, none of us have that self-care in the traditional, like, manicures and facials, all of it. It's like,
We've
it's
gotten
so
months.
funny. Right, and I resonate with what you said. Like, I don't consider myself like, oh, my husband would say that I am, but like I'm not a workaholic, and I also don't subscribe to hustle culture. But because I'm so passionate right now about what I want to do and what I want to achieve, like if I have some free time, then I'm gonna be working on it. So yeah, that's true. And it's something
That's
else that
me
you said
all
about
day.
network. Yeah, me too. And it was funny. I interviewed someone. Shout out to you, Kendra K. So she also said that like something that she likes to do for self-care is also her networking group. And I think that's something that's important for us as moms because we're like a lot of times as solopreneurs, we're alone all day and we're with the kids. So just speaking with other like minds and other like it feeds your soul. I find that like having conversations like that, I get that as well.
Yes, same. Like it's nice to know that even if you are like alone, like throughout the day dealing with these things, that like other people are also out there dealing with them. Like it's not the same thing. And I think it's so important as moms that we do connect because a lot of the mainstream advice online is like work harder, show up more. Like it's built for people that can afford to put 80 hours a week in for a short burst of time to build their business, and that's something that we can't do. So I think talking to other moms is really important, especially ones who have built businesses, because there's something to be said for knowing what's possible for you.
Right. Okay. Well, last question. What has been the most fulfilling part of this journey
Hmm. Fulfilling part.
so
Honestly,
far? Because you're just starting. You're gonna go far.
I know. So far, like, I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. But I think for me, I don't want to be cliche and say clients, but I feel like it has been my clients. Like, I feel like the most fulfilling part to me is not even clients, but just someone being on the recipient end of my like coaching or teaching. I think it's just so rewarding when someone finally has that moment where it clicks. Like when you can tell that someone is finally like, oh my God, I've been trying to figure this out. And I feel like I just cracked it. I feel like that's the most fulfilling thing for me. And I think I'm addicted to like delivering that. I'm like, I just want that aha moment for people because I know how good it feels, like how satisfying it is when you've had a block or you've had something that you're trying to figure out or a strategy and then you finally like nail it. It's just it's so good. So I think I just chased that feeling. That's been the most rewarding thing so far.
I love that. You're giving your clients aha moments. Yeah.
My favorite.
Thank you so much. Well, tell us where we can find you. Is there anything that you're working on? Where can we contact and connect with you?
Absolutely. So I mostly hang out on Instagram. I do have my own podcast called the Piece of Cake Marketing Podcast. Like I said, I'm mostly on Instagram, and my handle is Payton Moran with two underscores after it because regular Payton Moran was already taken, I guess. And what I'm working on is actually really interesting. So on Mondays, I am now doing something called the Content Cakery. And it's basically a space for networking, collaboration, but also content mastery. So we meet, we network, we communicate and collab with each other, but we also focus on like the key goal, like together, of content mastery. So this looks like breakout groups, market research, content prompts, and things like that. So that's at 10 o'clock Central on Mondays, and it's completely free. It's like a content membership slash networking space, and it's free. So I'll give you that link and you can drop it in the notes.
Yeah, I'll link everything you mentioned in your podcast and check out Peyton. She's amazing. She drops gems all the time. And I'll look into your marketing group. I'll see how it works with our time zones. I will want to join that as well. We'll be in touch. Bye.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Maternity Leave. I hope you found value in this episode. Your support means the world. By subscribing, leaving a comment, and sharing this episode with another mom entrepreneur, you'll help it grow and reach more incredible guests who can share their insights and guidance. Until next time, take care, love on your loved ones, and make it happen. You got this.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's